Welcome to Next to Madison, a podcast to help you live your best life.
Welcome back, episode 132 of the Next to Madison podcast. I'm excited about today's episode because we all have dreams, and sometimes we wake up and we go, what the heck just happened? And you don't know what those dreams mean. And sometimes you find yourself Googling things. Like, I know once I had a snake in my dream and it meant that big change was coming. So that was kind of exciting. There's so many different, the missed test, you're late for an important event. There's so many meanings behind our dreams. And I think understanding our dreams can also help us understand ourselves. And so the guest I have on today with me, she is a psychologist, an educator, and an author. She's an expert in behavior and relationships and a dream interpreter as well, Dr. Gail Gross. So I'm going to bring her on after this brief break, and we will be back to dissect what those crazy dreams mean. Dr. Gail Gross, and she is here to talk about all things dreams. And I guess my first question for you is, what is the meaning behind reoccurring dreams?
Well, let me say that when the unconscious is trying to speak to you, that's a process that's going on all day and all night, every day of your life. Even in utero, babies dream. So the unconscious is really who you are. 99% of who you are is the unconscious. We all think we're the ego, but actually the ego is our function. So it got you here this afternoon, it got you up in the morning, got you to get breakfast and have lunch and go to work, and all your functional things come from the ego. But the unconscious created the ego. The ego thinks that's who you are, but your persona, but actually you are the unconscious. So therefore, the unconscious is constantly trying to reach you, to have a conversation with you. And that conversation is held in symbols, because the language of the unconscious is symbolic. And whether you live in Africa or Asia or the West, the symbols are the same. So it really doesn't matter where you're located. An analyst can tell you what your dreams mean. So because the unconscious is always trying to speak to you, when it captures you is with a nightmare, because typically when you wake up, you forget what you dream. But if you dream progressively over and over and over again, the same theme, the same dream, then we know it's important. And the unconscious is saying, I've been trying to tell you this for a very long time, and you won't listen to me. So I'm raising the stakes, I'm raising the ante, and I'm going to have repetitive dreams, and ultimately I'll give you a nightmare, because I am giving you information you need. Because who you are is the unconscious knows everything. It knows all that was, all that is, and all that is to be. So there is a precognitive, predictive element to certain kinds of dreams, which is why many people all over the world have the same dream about a plane crash or a 9/11 or any other catastrophic event. Because when you're asleep, your defenses are low, you're undefended, and you're receiving all this information through what Carl Jung, the very famous psychiatrist, called the collective unconscious. So when the collective is asleep or in a relaxed state or meditating, therefore relaxed, your defenses are down and the unconscious can finally get your attention. And we have, when we sleep, cycles called REM. We have about 5 every night. That's when we really are dreaming. And if we didn't dream, we wouldn't survive. We wouldn't live. So when people say to you, I never dream, what they really mean is they don't remember their dreams. Yes, they're always dreaming. During the war, when they took soldiers and they tortured them. One of the ways they tortured them, either side, was by depriving them of sleep. And when a person is deprived of sleep, ultimately, they start becoming delusional because they're acting out their dreams in an overt way. Just like somebody who is a sleepwalker and doesn't have the right combination of hormonal expression to stop them from acting out their dreams. So when we go to sleep at night, we're expressing hormones that slow us down and, in a sense, paralyze us so that we don't act out our dreams. You're basically like in a little coma, a semi-coma, when you go to sleep at night. And if you didn't dream and you didn't have these REM cycles, you could die. You wouldn't wake up. So I hope that answers your question.
I mean, that's so interesting. You brought up so many good points. So when you were saying like a lot of people dream about plane crashes, what does that mean? I've never had that dream.
Okay, so I'll tell you a true story. It's in my book, The Only Way Out is Through. And by the way, in this book, The Only Way Out is Through, there is a whole section on dreams. And not only a section on dreams, but how to learn how to interpret your own dreams. Because the best interpreter of your dreams is naturally you. Yeah. Because you know you better than anybody knows you.
Yeah.
So there are, in all of us, hidden parts of ourselves that are even unconscious to us, and that do live and thrive and exist in our unconscious.
It's just so amazing.
So I'll tell you the experience I had.
Okay.
One night when I was asleep, I woke up at 3 a.m. with a horrifying dream. I woke my husband up, and I will tell you that I've been a long-time meditator, and as a person with a PhD in psychology with a specialty in Jungian studies, of course, I've studied dream analysis. So I was very open to these things even before I went to school because I meditated. And so I paid attention to these things. And one night I had this terrible dream. I woke up my husband. It was 3 o'clock in the morning. And my husband woke up and I told him this dream. And then I went back to sleep. And the dream was about a plane crash in Dallas, Texas. And I knew the number of the flight, and I knew how many people were on board. And I knew this word that I'd never heard before in my life called wind shear. And the plane went down and everyone was killed. And at 1 o'clock that day, my husband called me at the house and he said, "Have you been listening to the news today?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Just turn on the 1 o'clock news." So I did. And that very flight, I can't remember what it was, say flight 149, crashed in Dallas, Texas. Everyone on board was killed. And it was because of this new thing that no one really was paying that much attention to before, called wind shear.
Oh my, that is insane. So it's almost like you were psychic in your dream, like you knew it was happening.
But it wasn't being psychic. It was just that when we go to sleep, we are defenseless. Our defenses go down because we're relaxed. And when you're very relaxed and you can surrender to sleep, you're open to the collective. And the collective information, which is energetic, is all over the place, and it comes to you too. And if you're a meditator or you do keep track of your dreams so that you have more of a working relationship with your unconscious, then you'll remember. A lot of people, everyone got that information, by the way. Only so many people in those circumstances remembered.
So you're saying that everyone got the information about the plane crash, which was going to occur that morning, but only certain people remembered.
The people that had a working relationship with their unconscious or that meditated, because when you meditate or you pay attention to your dreams, keep dream journals and so forth,
yeah,
you've learned the path to access your own unconscious. And when you access your own unconscious, then your unconscious tells you everything. Because we're all connected. It's hard to believe, but but energetically we're all connected. So when we go to sleep, we're tapping in to this force of energy that is thought energy. And many people had a dream that were documented, had a dream about this event.
That's unbelievable. So here's the thing too. It's like, let's say you go to bed tonight and you have a dream about, let's just say, a United flight. Now with that experience, would you contact United and say, hey, this happened to me in the past. It's in my book. I think you should double check certain things on this particular flight.
Absolutely, I would. And you know, many, many years ago in Israel, when Yitzhak Rabin was assassinated, there was a woman who remembered a dream. I think it was just this particular one that called about it, but there might have been others. This is just what I kind of remember, and I only remember it vaguely. But she called the police in Israel and told them that she had this dream that he was going to be assassinated. And I think it was the next day he was.
Oh my gosh. So
the information is swimming around because it's energy, thoughts are energy, and the information is swimming around. And when you're in a relaxed state and your unconscious is used to you paying attention to it and to respecting it, it gives you more information. And if you pay attention to the information, then by paying attention to the information, you can follow through on it. You know, I had a meditation many, many years ago, and in front of my eyes, it was 12 years ago, in the middle of the meditation came up a word about an illness. And it was a Sunday, and I went into my library and I said to my husband, you know, I must have this illness. And he said, don't be silly. There's nothing like that in your family. And I said, I know, but I've meditated more than half my life. And I do pay attention to dreams because I've studied dreams. And therefore, I know it's not woo-woo out there. I know this is my unconscious trying to reach me and tell me something's wrong.
Wow.
And long story short, that was a Sunday, and I was having major surgery on Thursday.
It's almost like you have a gift.
No, everyone has this. It's just I pay attention because I've been trained to pay attention, because I meditate. These ways of accessing the unconscious makes you respect and pay attention, whereas everybody's getting that information. But most people walk around unconsciously. They just don't pay attention. They're busy living.
Exactly. So I want to bring it to, okay, so that reminds me, you've read The Secret, obviously, right?
Yes, I loved it.
In the beginning of The Secret, he talks about 9/11. Do you remember this?
Right.
And how everybody that was on those planes or in that building were on the same energy.
Right.
And you read this and you're like, what?
But that's a very simplistic level. In fact, The Secret was taken and very upfront about it. The author talks about it, but a lot of the information that she used was, you know, with these wonderful experts that she incorporated in her movie, and the books that inspired her, she also discussed. And these things have been around forever. It's just certain people pay attention and certain people do not.
So do you think people that were on the flight or on those flights or in the building that day might have had a dream about a plane crash that night and didn't pay attention?
2 days before 9/11, I had a dream. And in the dream, I saw Santa Claus. And Santa Claus was up in the sky, and he crashes in New York City. And I thought, that's a strange dream. And understanding dreams, I know that symbolically, Santa Claus is not in a dream symbol, does not represent something good, but counterintuitive, something that can be disowned or shadow. And therefore,
Wow.
I was alert that something was up. The next night, before 9/11, I had another dream. And in that dream, I went to the refrigerator and I took out 1 carton of milk. And the milk fell out of my hand onto the floor and completely smashed. And in the dream, I picked up the carton and it said 9/11.
What?
And then the dream, that was 9/11, and it said expired.
Wow. Like mine. Oh my God. That is.
This is how the unconscious works. It gives us symbols, it gives us language, it gives us things that will make us pay attention. If you don't know what to do with it, however, you're there with it. But if we paid more attention to that, if we communally paid attention to things like this, we would do better. We would be more aware.
Yeah, right. It's just like it's just so unbelievable. Like I'm at like a loss for words. It's so that leads me to believe how, in your personal opinion, how much do you believe life is preordained?
Well, you'd have to talk to my husband. He really believes in destiny.
Yeah, right.
I mean, he believes you have a destiny.
Yeah.
I do believe in destiny a little bit, but I really do believe that the one gift we've really been given by God was free will and choice.
Mhm.
So, for example, you brought up the movie or the documentary, The Secret.
Yeah.
And in that movie, she's really talking about positive thinking, positive
Mhm.
thinking, positive thinking. But that's very much the first level of these kinds of approaches, that if we take it to the next level, we're really talking about influencing positive thinking through
Yeah.
perhaps creative visualization, where we're actually approaching what it is we want. For example, say I'm a wonderful athlete, which I am not, and, and
Okay.
I'm and I'm in the Olympics, and I have practiced all day, but I know I have to be on top of my game because, oh my gosh, every single participant is an Olympiad. Everyone is there because they're fabulous. So when I go home at night, I just don't leave it. I still practice, but I can't go onto a field because it's pitch dark at night. So how would I practice? I would quiet myself. I'd put on Baroque music, which automatically puts you in a meditative state. And then I would close my eyes and I would absolutely run through my practice in my mind's eye. And I would creatively visualize every single thing about my practice, how it smells, how the ground smells, how the my uniform feels, the way the light will look on the wherever I'm running or whatever I'm doing on the field. And so everything that has to do with the texture, the sound, I've now incorporated into my visualization, so that now when I start, say, running, my heart actually starts beating more rapidly. My blood pressure is running along with me. My pulse is moving up. So my body is responding not to my moving on the field, but to my creative visualization.
Amazing.
So I have the ability, through creative visualization, through choice, through free will, of giving myself this extra creative visualization exercise. I am actually supporting the experience as if it was really happening. And my body is responding as if I'm participating in that activity.
I mean, that's just, I mean, it
My
is
pulse
amazing.
changes. Of
Yeah.
course, therefore your heart changes. You might
Right.
perspire
Yeah.
and the whole thing. You might find
Exactly.
yourself gritting your teeth.
And that, yeah, and that's why they say, so I guess if you are somebody who doesn't meditate, you know, you're that's when your dreams really kick in to a different level because they can't reach you.
The more you do to access your unconscious, the more you open that pathway and you say to your psyche, your unconscious, I'm in. I respect the job you're doing, and I'm going to partner with you. And that's my free will. That's my free choice. And when I open to me, not to some woo-woo out there, but me in here, when I open to my own unconscious, now I have a pathway to such resource because the unconscious is all of me. It knows everything. You know, you and I can be sitting in a room and I'm looking at you and you're looking at me. And I think I'm just looking at you and you think you're just looking at me. But
Right.
our eyes, our neurology is capturing all of the things in this room that my eyes can see, that I'm not aware my eyes are seeing, but they are. And now if somebody does brain surgery on me and uses an instrument to tap a certain part of my brain that will recall these memories, not just our conversation will come up, but all the lateral information that my eyes are gathering that I am completely unaware of because I'm focused on you.
Isn't that amazing? So I want to go into different symbols of dreams for people and kind of what they mean. But I first want to talk about my niece. So my niece just turned 7 years old in October. Gorgeous, cute little sassy thing. And ever since she was about 2, when she really could communicate a lot, she would talk about loved ones that had passed on. And still to this day, so my aunt died when she was, sorry, there was like an aunt here. My aunt died when she was 2.5, which technically she should have zero memory of because you really don't have a memory till about 4 or 5. And she always talks about her. And constantly, if you just ask her, because if you ask any 7-year-old, hey, how's Aunt Penny? They'll say, I don't know what you're talking about. Didn't she die? Like, are you crazy? If you stop Morgan and you say, hey, how's Aunt Penny? She'll just look at you and say, she's good. She's really good. And I said, so when do you talk to her and when do you see her? When I go to bed and she comes in my dreams. I have to be like really tired, but I'm really tired. And I said, who else comes? And she said, our cousin comes, and my grandma who I never met comes, and I don't really like talking to ghosts. It scares me, but they communicate through me. Like, what does that mean?
So within our resource, there are ranges and ranges and ranges of wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
And there are many levels of consciousness. And we know this how? We know this from what used to be just spiritual information. People would talk about psychic experiences,
Yeah.
spiritual experiences, out of body experiences, kundalini experiences. The ancient gurus and swamis, before we could see into the brain, they understood the way the brain worked. They even understood the 3 parts to the brain and the way they had 3-part meditations, 3-part breathings, exercises. So from time eternal, whether you're looking at a cave where someone has painted things on a cave, we have always told the stories of our dreams. Whether with the Huichols, for example, in Guatemala, they dress in very colorful clothes. And why do they? Because they dream in very colorful visions in their dream. And they believe, quite interestingly, that there is a bridge between the inner world and the outer world. But actually, the inner world, in a sense, informs the outer world. So basically, they're saying you dream it first and then it happens second. So there is also the Aborigines, for example. They talk about the walking dream, and they are very predictive of things that happen. The difference between them and their cultures and us in our modern technological culture is that they pay attention to the signs and symbols along the way. And they understand that we are really a part of the fabric of nature, that we've separated ourselves in our culture. You know, Carl Jung, this amazing psychiatrist, really believed that we were becoming soulless, that we were so disconnected from our natural self. And he would go to different countries where people were more in touch and paid attention, not just to what they were dreaming, but to what they were passing on the street, or the owl in the tree that suddenly shows up and then leaves, and then there's a death in the family, or various things that happen, bees showing up and building a nest, and then the person dies, a sick person is in the family, and there's a bee's nest, and then the person dies and the bees miraculously go away. And they're gone the next day, not the next month or year. And these things happen often enough so that we recognize that there's some texture to it, but we just don't know what. But people in more natural cultures, natural environments, they do know what, because they believe in these things and they respect the conversation that happens between the inner and the outer. For example, you and I having this conversation just seems like a nice interview that we're having, and we've met each other in this way. But actually, if you were a Jungian, we would say that some part of your unconscious and some part of my unconscious has organized this moment to bring us both to more consciousness. That there's something in this moment for you and your wonderful questions and me and our conversation together that inspires growth, consciousness. Because when people say to me, Dr. Gross, what is the meaning of life? And I know they expect me to say, oh my gosh, it's being selfless, it's compassion, empathy. And yes, it is all those things. But to be able to be empathic, to be able to be unconscious, to be able to be compassionate and empathic and kind, as the Dalai Lama says, kindness is my religion.
Yeah.
What are we really speaking of? Consciousness.
Yeah.
You have to be conscious to be able to make the choice to be compassionate or empathetic or kind. So consciousness is the meaning of life. When Adam and Eve were in the Garden of Eden, Eve gives Adam this piece of fruit. It probably wasn't an apple. Poor apple, for all these millennia, is being blamed on all of this, but it probably was a fig because they used fig leaves to hide their nakedness. It could have been a pomegranate, but highly unlikely that it was an apple. But because it actually doesn't say in the Bible that it was an apple, ironically. People say it said that, but it actually doesn't. So now we have these two people that before Eve eats of this apple, these two people, Adam and Eve, are naive. They're unaware of their nakedness. They've never lied. They have no embarrassment, no shame, no guilt. So what would we say? They're childlike.
Yeah.
So Adam and Eve in this Garden of Eden are childlike. And there's two trees in the Garden of Eden. There's the tree of life, and of course there's the tree of knowledge. Now they don't eat rather from the tree of life. And me in particular, I would have gone for the tree of life.
Yeah.
But they went for the tree of knowledge. And what happened? They ate of that piece of fruit, and now they became conscious. They matured. They grew up. Now they knew they were naked, and they covered themselves with fig leaves. Now they lied to God. What have you done? Nothing, nothing. Did you make Adam eat that apple? No, no. Now they're guilty. Now there's shame. Now there's awareness. Now it's only through consciousness that we have free will or free choice. A child cannot use free will or free choice because they don't understand the obligations. They don't understand what can happen, what the consequences of their decisions are. They're children. They're naive, like Adam and Eve were before they ate that apple. But the minute they ate that apple, they became conscious. And it's only through consciousness that they can choose to be good and follow God's example and do good things that God does for them.
Yeah.
Or they can follow the snake and do bad things. And now God casts them out of the garden. And what does he say to them? He says, I'm giving you one gift and one gift only. And it's the most important gift I can give you at this moment in time. And what is the gift? Free will. So he teaches them in that moment, because they are conscious, he teaches them how to get back into the garden, doesn't he? He gives them the key. The way back into the garden was actually by eating that fruit, because now they're conscious. And so through free will and choice, by doing the good things and the right things and modeling God's example, they can get back into the garden.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And so, okay, so that's so interesting. I've never heard the Adam and Eve story explained that way, but it makes so much sense. Like when the unconscious is kind of your real authentic self, and then the conscious is like you're aware of everything, the good, the bad, and that's where you have free will. So your dreams are still there, but that's like your unconscious. So real quick before I get off topic, because I know we have to wrap up on this subject soon before we go into our part 2. So what do you think it means that she's seeing our dead relatives in her dreams?
So children are naive, therefore they are opened, and they have no preconceptions. They don't think in terms of, this is something I will be made fun of. I shouldn't talk about this. Somebody's going to make fun of me. I shouldn't tell anybody this. They don't have those concepts because they're children and they're very open to everything until we close them down.
Yeah, I know.
You know, we socialize them, but until then, they're very open. And so there are many levels of consciousness. And when we're opened and when we're undefended, we can experience many unexplained things. And the important thing is to not make her feel uncomfortable or guilty, but I would just listen to her and validate what a wonderful experience she's had. How wonderful that she has had this dream with someone she loved, or someone who's loves her enough to appear in her dreams.
Well, exactly. Well, we always tell her, I'm like, I told her, I said, you're so lucky. I wish I could see Aunt Penny.
Exactly.
Like, why did she come to me? Like, why did she choose you? You're like a gifted child. So she knows that. She only will talk about it when she's asked. But yeah, it's always interesting. And then a couple other symbols and dreams that I feel like people have, and we'll just quickly touch on them, is the dream that people have a lot, that I've heard is very common, is you didn't study for a test and you're at school and you're taking the test. What is the meaning behind that, and what's your mind trying to tell you?
I want to say two things. Doing dreams in this way is very simplistic and out of context. Because when we're reading a dream, I like to say riding the wave of a dream with the other person that you're analyzing and helping.
Uh-huh.
When you're doing that, you are holding that dream in context with the person and what the person is experiencing and the person's life, which is why you're the best interpreter of your own dreams, because you know your life better than anybody else. You know
Right.
what you feel, you know what's going on, and so forth. But the general dream books that have general symbols, that's very simplistic. On
Okay.
the other hand, it can trigger an understanding. And so when people are dreaming about failing a test or not showing up for school, the general thing you would say is you're overwhelmed, you're under pressure. And when you're under a lot of pressure, you feel overwhelmed, you feel you're, the pressure of showing up and you're not showing up, or you've missed the exam. And it just says that there's pressure going on in your life, that you're overwhelmed. But it's very simplistic to do it that way, because you have to take these symbols in context with what the person is experiencing, what the whole dream is saying. And the dream opens up like a movie, and it has a beginning and a middle and an end, and it has a theme that runs through it. And so it needs to be interpreted like a movie.
I know. I need to.
And many times, as you said, you'll dream the same thing all night long, and just with a different theme. It's the same dream, the same information your unconscious is trying to deliver to you, but it's delivering it in different ways, trying to get your attention. So your dreams are different.
Yeah. I mean, this is amazing. Like I knew we were, talking about dreams and dream interpretation, but everything that's been spoken about, and I'm sure people that are listening to this or going to listen to this will have the same thought, like, wow, I didn't think about really that it's like your conscious and your unconscious, and you're tapping into it, and how important meditation is. So, I mean, this has been amazing. I feel like we could go for 2 hours just on this dream topic, but you guys are in for a treat, because we are doing a part 2 with Dr. Gross, and we're going to be talking about the brain. But real quickly on this episode, before people tune out, because the next episode won't be available until the following week, where can they find more information on you?
So if you go to www.drgail.com, you will have my website, and there not only will you and my books are on Amazon and all bookstores and everywhere you can think of. But what's interesting about this book, The Only Way Out is Through, is that there's a chapter on dreams and how to analyze your own dreams. It's really a wonderful chapter. And I show you a dream that's a real dream it was a textbook dream that I was given as a student. Everybody in my class was given this dream, and we had to analyze it. And so I thought that would be a great lesson for everyone. So it's a whole chapter on dreams, and I think you would like it and benefit from it, absolutely.
Well, I mean, this has been amazing. So if you guys want to find out more information about how to interpret your dreams or get in touch with Dr. Gross, please go to www.drgailgross.com, where you can find more information, and tune in next week, because we are going to be back with Dr. Gross to be talking about the brain and so many questions.
Build your baby's brain.
All right. So we'll see you guys next time to find out who's next. Well, we know it's Gail, but who's next? Hi.
Hey, your host here, Madison Malloy. Please make sure to subscribe to the show on all podcast platforms, and please rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify. Also, if you have any questions or comments, you can email us at contact@nexttomadison.com. I thank you again for listening. Bye.